We're in Shanghai in 2019. Romain is sitting in an office on the third floor of a glass tower. He is an executive at Carrefour and has opened stores in Chengdu, Wuhan, and Shenzhen. He spent 11 years in China, learned Mandarin, and believed in the project. Outside, trucks have been loading boxes since dawn. In 48 hours, all of this will belong to Suning, a Chinese retailer that most French people have never heard of. This is what Carrefour is giving up that day. 24 years of presence in China, 250 stores built one by one, a business that generated 3.6 billion euros in annual revenue, sold for 620 million euros. Romain holds his head in his hands, wondering how it came to this. Hi, Entrepreneur Mindset team. I hope you're doing well. What you just heard isn't an isolated failure. It's the symptom of a much deeper problem. Carrefour, you all know that name. The brand that invented the hypermarket in 1963, which became the world's #2 retailer and for years was the favorite company of the French. And yet, in just 10 years, Leclerc overtook them. In France, Lidl bypassed them from below. Amazon took their most profitable customers. And Carrefour withdrew from China, Brazil, and part of Europe. But then, how did the inventor of the hypermarket get overtaken by everyone? How did a company that had the size, the resources, and the experience fail to defend itself? What we're going to see today is a story of ego, debt, and bad strategic bets. Let's go. We're in Sainte-Geneviève-des-Bois in June 1963. Marcel has been running a grocery store for 17 years. 30 square meters, neatly lined up cans. Loyal customers who come on Tuesdays and Fridays. He knows their first names and all their habits. That morning, he sees trucks passing by on the highway. Big ones, too big for a regular business. 3 weeks later, a gigantic store opens its doors 500 meters from his place. It's called Carrefour. Marcel goes in. He stands in the main aisle for 10 minutes, then leaves without buying anything. He goes home, shocked by what he just saw. He will close his shop 2 years after Carrefour opens. That day, it's not just a store, it's a social promise. Everything under one roof. Food, clothing, appliances cheaper than anywhere else, accessible by car, in a country that has just massively adopted automobiles. The 30 glorious years are in full swing. The French want to consume. They have money, they have cars, but they don't yet have the businesses. Places to spend it. Carrefour arrives at exactly the right time, and in 30 years becomes the world's #2 retailer. The only one ahead is Walmart, the American giant with 320,000 employees, operations on 5 continents, and 80,000 items in each hypermarket. To give you a concrete idea, that's the equivalent of 6 times the selection of a typical Leclerc supermarket under one roof. The favorite company of the French? But here's what these numbers hide. Carrefour doesn't really make money. Carrefour makes money by selling space. Brands pay to be listed, to be at the end of the aisle in catalogs for seasonal promotions. The hypermarket is like a highway, and Carrefour sells the billboards. It's brilliant, powerful, and almost invincible. Almost because this model relies on a hidden engine that will drive Carrefour for 40 years and eventually suffocate it. We'll come back to that later. In 1973, Carrefour set up in Spain. In 1975, Brazil. In 1982, Argentina. The whole world is copying its model, but while Carrefour is busy conquering the planet, something is happening in Germany. In 1973 in Darmstadt, 2 brothers opened a store unlike anything seen before. It had no national brands, no end caps, and no catalog. In cardboard boxes placed directly on the floor, there are fewer than 2,000 items. Customers line up outside, and the store looks like a warehouse. This model seems ridiculous to the giants of retail. Yet it will take 20 years to cross the French border. But when it does, Carrefour will panic. It's 2005 in Lyon, at Carrefour's regional headquarters. Sophie has been an executive for 8 years. That morning, she receives an internal report on market shares in the suburban area. She goes through the document. Lidl is slowly but steadily eating away at Carrefour's market share. She closes it. She has other things to do. In her mind, Lidl is for people who don't have a choice, for those struggling at the end of the month. They're not her customers, so it's not her problem. But while Sophie is filing this report, Lidl opens a store every 4 days in Europe. Without massive advertising or loyalty cards, but just with 1,800 carefully selected products that are cheaper than everyone else's. Lidl doesn't sell shelf space to brands, doesn't negotiate back margins, because Lidl makes its own products and controls its own prices, and they don't have to answer to anyone. Zero middlemen and therefore zero compromise. Where Carrefour needs Danone, Nestlé, and L'Oreal to keep its shelves running, Lidl doesn't need anyone. By the way, if you're interested in a video about the 3 products I just mentioned, let me know in the comments. It's 2013. Leclerc overtook Carrefour in France, and it's not Amazon or a Californian startup. It's Leclerc, a French competitor. The same country, the same customers, and therefore the same playing field. That day, nobody really talked about it in the media, yet it was an earthquake. The #1 French retailer just lost its spot at home, and meanwhile, habits are changing. On Saturdays, families no longer do the big shopping trip. Traditionally, people filled their carts and browsed every aisle, often having lunch at the in-store McDonald's. Now shoppers visit malls more often, but shop briefly and with clear purpose. They buy their appliances on Amazon, their clothes on Zalando, and their food is split between hard discount stores, organic shops, and home delivery. The 80,000 items at Carrefour, its greatest strength, are becoming its biggest problem. Every product costs money to list, stock, and promote. Carrefour pays a huge price for complexity, for an offering that no one really asks for anymore. So Carrefour will react. They'll launch plans, hire CEOs. There will be 5 of them in 10 years. Each one comes in with his own vision, his own transformation plan, his promises. But what you don't know yet is the reason why none of them managed to succeed, and the answer is brutal. We move forward to 2019 in Paris, at Carrefour's headquarters. Alexandre Bompard has been chief executive officer for 2 years. He is the former head of Fnac and is known for having saved a brand that everyone thought was dead. He arrives at Carrefour with a plan called Carrefour 2022, digital transformation, cost reduction, and refocusing on the fundamentals. The market applauds and analysts praise the reform. Except, do you remember Romain, the Carrefour executive in China? It's that same year that Carrefour signs its surrender in the Middle Kingdom. China. This is Carrefour's story and fast forward. They arrived in 1995. The first Western hypermarket to set up on a large scale, the Chinese discover the concept. The lines are endless. Carrefour is admired, then Alibaba arrives. Chinese e-commerce explodes at a speed that no one in Europe had anticipated. In 2018, 30% of food purchases in China are made online, while in France, at the same time, it's barely 6%. Carrefour now has thousands of square meters to fill in a country where people have stopped shopping in person. They try to adapt with partnerships, like the one with Tencent, mobile apps, express delivery, but it's too slow, too late, and too expensive. But China isn't the real issue. China is just the place where the problem became impossible to hide, because the real problem is structural, and it existed long before Shanghai. 5 CEOs in 10 years all saw the same thing. The hypermarket model is too heavy, too expensive, too slow. Transformation is needed, but what does transforming actually mean? It means closing down 15,000 square meter hypermarkets with 20-year-old commercial leases, laying off large numbers of employees in France, with all the legal and social costs that come with it. No chief executive officer can do that, because the shareholders, the unions, and the banks will never allow it. Carrefour is a prisoner of its own size. And meanwhile, Lidl keeps opening new stores. And in 2020, it surpasses Carrefour in the number of stores in France, a brand that didn't even exist in the French market 40 years ago. Here's where the story turns brutal, as what happens to Carrefour affects more than just retail empires. It's a mechanism, a specific trap, that can close in on any organizer, any project, any career. And there's a good chance you're building it without even knowing it. Let's go back to the image of Marcel, our grocer, in 1963. He enters his first Carrefour, stands frozen in the main aisle for 10 minutes, then leaves without buying anything. That day, he feels not admiration, but astonishment, because he knows, though he can't say it, that his world has changed and there's nothing he can do. 60 years later, it's Carrefour that's Marcel. This is what this story really shows us. Every decision that made Carrefour bigger also made Carrefour slower. Having 80,000 items was a strength in 1985, but a paralysis in 2010 hundreds of stores was a strength in 1995, but a crushing fixed cost in 2025. Thousands of suppliers was a huge advantage in the 90s, but also a dependency. Today, Carrefour is not dead. Of course, 320,000 employees, tens of billions in revenue, but it's an empire managing its decline and hoping it doesn't accelerate. And that's why it concerns us all. Because this mechanism doesn't just apply to hypermarkets, it applies to everything that grows, everything that succeeds, and everything that becomes comfortable. And that's the hardest lesson to accept. Because we've always been taught that growth is a victory, that size is a protection, that the bigger you are, the stronger you are. But Carrefour has proven that's not true. The real threat for any organization, any project, any career It's not failure, it's success that makes you complacent. Because while you're managing what you built, someone else is building something simpler, with fewer constraints and no reason to go easy on you. That's exactly what happened to Carrefour with competitors. Lidl, the store that everyone used to call the poor man's shop, has in just a few years become one of the favorite supermarkets of the upper class. But how did a discount brand manage such a spectacular turnaround? And most importantly, will it survive the controversies this has created? That's exactly what I explained in the video that's showing up.